Keith, make sure to act out exactly what we say on screen, all right?
Brian's life run through, scene 1, action!
Many years ago, in a long forgotten land, far, far away, lived a cave-dwelling monster by the name of Brian.
Brian?
Problem, Tony?
Look, you can't call a monster Brian.
And why not?
Well, it's like calling it Gary or Alan.
What's your point?
Well, Brian isn't a monster's name.
Ah, but that's his backstory. That's why he's angry.
Seriously?
Could monsters not use deed poll to change their names then?
What? No, Rick, monsters can't use deed poll.
Oh, that's racist, isn't it?
He's a fictional monster. How is... You know what? It doesn't matter. Please, can I proceed?
Oh, fine.
As I was saying, there was once a monster called Brian. Brian was the last of his kind. All the other monsters were long since gone. Before a truce was signed on both sides, many monsters were lost in ferocious battles with the humans and hunted down by them for sport and honour. The remaining had simply lived out their lives and passed away in peace. So, Brian now lived a solitary life. He'd rise with the sun, tend to his garden, eat his produce and draw paintings in his shadowy cave.
Just out of interest,
Yes, Celia?
that's not the only reference to shadows, is it? For the prompt, I mean.
You mean aside from the shadow puppets?
Yeah.
Look, there are more references to Never Fear the Shadows. If you'd only let me get there, you would hear them.
Sorry. Go on.
Thank you. Beyond Brian's garden, nestled into the foot of a grassy hill, was a small village. The inhabitants never bothered the monster, and he didn't bother them. Gradually, however, the village was growing. The outskirts were creeping closer and closer to Brian's home. One day, whilst Brian was tending to his garden, he was shocked to hear some children playing nearby. As he drew closer, he saw that they were yelling and kicking at an upturned wheelbarrow just on the edge of his garden. Brian saw red. He instantly rushed at the children, his arms flailing in the air, his teeth bared as he roared at them with all his might. The children ran away screaming down the hill and back towards the safety of their village. It was only then that Brian heard sniffling coming from the underside of the upturned barrow. Upon lifting it, he found a mere slip of a girl hiding beneath a mop of thick curly hair. She said her name was Katori, the granddaughter of the chief of the village. She thanked Brian for saving her from the bullies and gave him a flower before she too ran back home. Brian just stared at the flower, stunned. Katori wasn't scared of him.
Hang on, this sounds like Shrek.
She's a little girl, not a donkey.
Well, if you say so.
I do. Brian's nothing like Shrek. I'm moving on. Right. Back at the village, the chief, a kind old man with a big heart and an even bigger beard, was waiting with his number one advisor, a tall, thin man called Sasaba.
Does it have to be a man?
Not particularly, okay? Although a respected member of the community, Sasaba was actually a greedy, spiteful woman with her own interests at heart.
Oh, Sasaba is a baddie.
Yes, Sasaba is a villain in the story. Have you not read the script?
Oh, well, in that case, I'm happy for her to be a him.
Of course you are. Okay. Sasaba wants to grow the village into a town. He is making plans to industrialise it, to allow villagers to peddle their wares with the outside world and make some money. The chief, however, was taking some convincing, and time for a deal was running out.
It will be good for the village, something to leave the children.
We have lived simply and happily for many generations, Sasaba. There are creatures that live beyond our village walls who have set up home. Who are we to destroy their habitats to grow our own? Hang on a second, Sasaba sounds a lot like Jafar from Aladdin.
Really? I thought he sounded like Tony from Dagenham.
He's nothing like Jafar. I'm moving on. Later that night, as the inhabitants huddled around a fire to tell stories, they listened to how the children had narrowly escaped from the clutches of the ferocious monster over the hill. The oldest woman in the village, a blind seer,
Cliche.
moving on, spoke of the battles once fought between monsters and man. The seer gave a stark warning. She raised a frail, trembling arm, pointed in the direction of the hill, and said,
Beware he that lurks in the shadows.
Hidden from sight, yet still close enough to hear the story, was Susaba. He now saw an opportunity to remove an obstacle and deviously hatched his plan. For the next week, Katori went to see Brian every day. Much to the monster's chagrin, the little girl would not leave him alone. She played in his garden, made him gifts, and even gave him hugs. Gradually, she wore the grumpy old monster down.
Hang on, I'll take it back what I said earlier. This is more like Monsters Inc. than Shrek.
In as far as Brian's a monster that befriends a little girl, I guess. It's hardly bloody plagiarism though, is it? Keith, can you put Brian back on the screen, please? Thank you. The next morning, the inhabitants of the village awoke to carnage in the farmers' fields. The fences were all broken, the hutches smashed, and the sheep, cows and chickens had all gone.
Wait a minute, go back. Let's see the animals again. Who the hell made that chicken? It's bloody massive.
I was just told to print out a chicken. No one mentioned a scale.
Oh, it's bigger than the hill.
Can we just park it for now, please? We'll never get home at this rate.
Finally, something we can agree on. I'll make a note on the script. Get rid of massive chicken. Right, on with the story. The villagers went with the farmer to complain to the chief.
The monster did it. He stole all our food.
It could have been bears, wild cats, wolves or foxes. We have no evidence that the monster ate all our oxes.
Ooh, it rhymes. It'd have been nice if it all rhymed.
Yeah, that would have been good. Anyway, it's oxen, not oxes.
Whatever, can we focus, people? Thank you. The villagers agreed and Susaba was angry. He'd have to up his game. 2 mornings later, the village awoke to screams. The farmer who lived in the house nearest the hill was missing. His bedroom had been trashed, and all that remained was one very large, bloody footprint on the bed. It was as if the farmer had been devoured in his sleep.
Oh, come on.
What now?
Well, it sounds a bit kinky, doesn't it? Devoured?
Seriously?
Well, she has a point.
How about eating?
Killed. He was killed, okay? It looked like the farmer had been killed in his sleep. It's like working with bloody children. It was the monster. It had to be. There was no convincing the villagers otherwise. Katori pleaded with her grandfather. She told him that Brian was friendly, but the chief simply shook his head. The evidence was overwhelming, and so the angry villagers rallied. Whilst this is happening, Katori overhears Susaba discussing plans with a few of his trusted employees. But before she can alert the chief, Susaba seizes her and throws her into the dungeons. There, Katori finds herself in the company of the missing farmer and all of the livestock. Hello! It had all been a setup to advance Susaba's plans for the village's expansion. Katori has to find a way out. As she attempts to escape with the help of the fellow prisoners, the angry mob closes in on Brian.
Wait, would they have pitchforks?
What now?
The villagers, Native Americans, would have bows and arrows, horses and stuff.
When have I ever said they were Native American?
Well, you haven't, but there's a chief.
They're in a long-forgotten land far, far away. Does that sound like America to you?
Well, no, but it's pretty far away.
Keith, lose the feathers. Give them back their pitchforks, please, for God's sake. I'm carrying on. The terrified monster reacts angrily, lashing out at the mob before retreating into the cave to hide.
That sounds just like Frankenstein.
For God's sake, right, Tony, I get it, all right? This script follows the overused, misunderstood monster trope. There's lots of examples like that, though. Beauty and the Beast, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, King Kong, The Incredible Hulk.
Technically, the Hulk wasn't a monster all the time.
I don't care, Rick. You know what? Sod this. I'm done.
You're leaving?
I can't work like this, Celia. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, we should have gone with the other prompt.
Yeah, agreed.
So what now?
Well, pub?
Oh yeah, sounds like a plan.
Wait, what happened to Brian? Does anyone know what happened to Keith?
A little bit of help, please!